Jim Jordan. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good to be with you.
So what were your initial thoughts last night? But what, 25 minutes he spoke?
Well, the last clip that you just played, we might let you have some independence by Independence Day. I mean, come on, we're Americans. We actually embrace freedom. We're actually all about freedom. And here we have the government saying, we might let you get together with some of your family. And meanwhile, while we might let you have some freedom come Independence Day, we're going to spend $1.9 trillion. That 91% is not for COVID relief. And, you know, we'll put things in there like we're going to have $1,400 go to felons, $1,400 a week go to federal workers whose kids aren't in school. The constituents I get the privilege of representing, they're not getting that deal. So that's the message coming from the White House. I think it's pretty tone deaf and pretty wrong.
Congressman, let me ask you something. When was the last time you were back home, and how open was it? Compared to what it is in D.C., because I go out in and out of D.C. all during the week, and if my experience is the same as yours, it's a lot different in two different places.
Yeah, and we don't have a wall and razor wire around the state capitol in Ohio either. So we're a lot more open, both relative to COVID and relative to letting the taxpayers get access to their capital, their state capital in Columbus, versus the federal taxpayers' access to the nation's capital here. So much more open. I've been in Florida a few times the last month. There it's really open. And frankly, I wish Ohio was much more closer to where Florida is than D.C. and some of these other places run by Democrats. And here's the interesting thing. You know, Joe Biden says we might get some freedom come July 4th, some semblance of freedom. Meanwhile, for the past year, government has told us, Democrat leaders in government have told us, you can't go to church, you can't go to work, you can't go to school, you can't go to a loved one's funeral. But the same people who impose those requirements on us and those lockdowns on us, they don't follow them. And the best example is the one I always point to. Governor Newsom in California can go to a five-star restaurant with friends and lobbyists. At the same time, he's telling Californians, you can't have Thanksgiving with your family. That's what frustrates Americans. And now to hear the commander-in-chief, the president of the United States, say, maybe by the middle of the summer, you might be able to hang out with your friends. CDC has already said you can. So it just didn't make sense to me, and I think that's the takeaway many Americans had.
Yeah, and Congressman Jordan, you know, all the money from this rescue plan that's going to those cities and those states with these Democratic governors like Newsom, who chose to keep the lockdowns in place and damage the states, and now we're bailing them out.
Yeah, blue state bailout, lockdown state bailout. I mean, you call it what you want, but you're exactly, it's a great point, Heather. So much money is going to California, so much money is going to New York, where supposedly they were doing things perfectly. Well, when you look at the numbers, you got states like South Dakota and Florida with Republican governors that have much better numbers and didn't lock their state down, don't have the unemployment numbers that the blue states have, and actually have a flourishing economy. So that's what we need to get back to. It is time to go back to work, go back to school, go back to normal. The country is done with all this. We knew it was serious. We treated it as serious. We still do. But it's time to get back to normal, get back to freedom.
Let's talk about what's going on down at the southern border. There are people flowing across. Some of them come in, check at the door, maybe, then they're let go into and say they'll come back. And we talked to people down there. They're not coming back. Then we just showed some video earlier today, boats coming in, little rafts coming over the Rio Grande. How does this end?
Well, it ends when the administration sends a different message and actually gets control of the border and puts back in place the policies President Trump had in place. But remember, after Election Day, Joe Biden was advertising. He was saying, we're going to get rid of the deportation moratorium. We're going to get rid of that. We're basically saying, come on in. And now they're surprised that it's actually happening. This is exactly the policy. This is their policy. This is what they wanted based on what they said. It's so bad. They're actually considering using NASA facilities to house migrant kids. I mean, this is unbelievable. And if anything like this would have happened in the Trump administration, can you imagine what the left would be saying? So we got schools closed, the border open, we got a wall around the Capitol, but no wall on the border to protect the country. Gas prices going up, and a president who says maybe by July 4th, you can actually have a barbecue with your family. This is the Biden administration. And again, I don't think this is what the American people bargained for. And let's hope we can begin to change a few things.
Well, the American people also heard him talk about unity and bipartisanship. That clearly is not happening. And as we continue to wait for that ceremony, celebrating this $1.9 trillion bill, no Republicans invited, just Democrats. It's like he's throwing it in Americans' faces that he's not even making this attempt to unify. Also, his speech last night wasn't very unifying.
No, not only are they doing, great point, they're not only doing these partisan legislation, partisan bills, they're actually attacking people who disagree with them. So how do you get unity when you work in a partisan fashion and then go on the attack on your political opponents? And so much so they went after you guys. Now, never forget, two members of the United States Congress, two Democrat members of the United States Congress, sent a letter to the big carriers telling them to take your network off the air. Talk about an attack on the First Amendment. Talk about chilling free speech. Talk about cancel culture at its worst. That is what they're doing. So much for the unity that he talked about on January 20th. I actually wish we could have some. But they have passed partisan bills, haven't brought any of the bills through committee. Every one of these major bills they've passed, radical changes to election law, radical changes to gun law, radical changes to police law. Next week, they're going to make radical changes to immigration law as there's a crisis on the border. None of those bills came through our committee like they're supposed to, where you can have real debate and you can offer amendments. Right. They brought them straight to the floor. They're passing them in a partisan fashion, all the while trying to cancel anyone who disagrees with them.
Congressman Jim Jordan, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.